to Yellow Brick Road. I'm Jordan, this is James, and tonight we're going to talk about Alabama's passing of an abortion bill, which is quite strict. But first, please consider donating to Devon's Journey to Recovery. The link is in the description box, and the website is in the intro to this video. Please donate, because we don't have free healthcare in this country. So please, help someone out at Devon's Journey to Recovery. GoFundMe link down there. Alright, so there's been a lot of hoopla about the abortion bill passed by Alabama, for Alabama State. What I understand about it is that it's a way to get the Roe v. Wade put back into question at the Supreme Court level. And they almost made extreme rules about it, as far as rape or incest are still illegal for an abortion, in order for that to reach the Supreme Court. Then from there, they can argue and try to get rid of Roe v. Wade. That's as far as I understand it. But for context, for people that have no idea the story's going on, this is from NBC News.
Can always trust them, right?
Yeah. Alabama governor signs controversial abortion ban bill into law. The bill, designed to challenge Roe v. Wade protections, makes it a felony for a doctor to perform or attempt an abortion during any stage of pregnancy. Any stage. 1 day of pregnancy. Doctor can't do shit. Okay. Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signed a near total abortion ban bill designed to challenge more than 40 years of federal abortion protection under Roe v. Wade into law Wednesday. The bill, which makes it a felony for a doctor to perform or attempt an abortion during any stage of pregnancy, was approved by the state Senate late Tuesday night after a contentious floor debate. Motherfucker. Alabama legislators passed the bill 25-6 after denying an amendment that would have made exemptions for cases of rape and incest. Just so you know, only 3 women were a part of this entire voting thing.
That's creepy.
Only 3 women in the Alabama legislators. Alabama House Representative Terry Collins, who sponsored the bill, told NBC News on Tuesday evening that legislators wanted to keep the bill's text as clean as possible, specifically to address the language in Roe v. Wade and revisit the question on whether a baby in the womb is considered a person. The state's Republican governor said in a statement Wednesday that she personally disagrees with the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision, and that legislation was a testament to Alabamians' deeply held belief that every life is precious and that every life is a sacred gift from God. No matter one's personal view on abortion, we can recognize that, at least for the short term, this bill may similarly be unenforceable, Ivey said. As citizens of this great country, we must always respect the authority of the U.S. Supreme Court, even when we disagree with their decisions. Okay, that's enough context. So, I don't think any of them really expect this thing to pass. They just wanted to get it out there so that over time it'll lead to the Supreme Court, and then they can argue what their real goal is, which is to take down Roe v. Wade and make abortion illegal under God's law.
It's like, are you making it illegal just because it's like under God's law, or is it because it's wrong?
Yeah. So,
You know,
I'm not a political expert. I'm not an expert of the law. I'm not an expert of how these things, the Supreme Court, or how any of these things pass or fail or whatever. Are you?
Oh.
So that's not what we're going to talk about. What we're going to talk about is the dumb team playing side of this. which is, as it usually is with politics in this country, left versus right, with seemingly like very little gray area there. I don't know,
if any,
or purple in this case. So let's look at the pro-life aspect to this. So obviously, this is a tactic, once again, to get it to the Supreme Court. But their argument is abortion is bad because God says so, or even just a moral sense of things, abortion is bad.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, the team that usually wants less government now wants more government in this specific area. A lot of them, I don't think, give a shit about the death penalty or war. Well, they're starting to care about war.
They should.
Maybe they're starting to care about the death penalty too, but at least the talking heads we see on TV don't give a fuck about war. Don't give a fuck about the death penalty, like a Ben Shapiro type.
They're gonna care as long as, when the tide turns, they'll start caring. Like majority.
Yeah.
And it's too much. And it's too much to the point where they can't ignore it.
So their side's pretty simple. It's their way of trying to get their God's laws as the law of the land.
Yeah.
Right? Protecting innocence, unless they're in the Middle East.
They're not people, Jordan.
So their side's pretty easy. The more nuanced and you need a little bit more, I don't know, a little more of an abstract look at it would be the quote-unquote left side of things, which is pro-choice. Now this one definitely dives into a gray area, even though a lot of people might avoid that. You'll see a lot of team playing as in, oh, I'm pro-choice because my side is pro-choice. My friends are pro-choice. My parents taught me to be pro-choice. My favorite people to listen to are pro-choice. Trump is bad, so I'm pro-choice.
Yeah.
A whole mixture of things, of team playing. And you'll probably see that in a clip.
I decided that if you could use propaganda for war, you could certainly use it for peace. And propaganda got to be a bad word because of the Germans using it. So what I did was to try to find some other words. So we found the word Council on Public Relations.
Bernays returned to New York and set up as a public relations counsel in a small office off Broadway. It was the first time the term had ever been used. Since the end of the 19th century, America had become a mass industrial society, with millions clustered together in the cities. Bernays was determined to find a way to manage and alter the way these new crowds thought and felt. To do this, he turned to the writings of his uncle Sigmund. While in Paris, Bernays had sent his uncle a gift of some Havana cigars. In return, Freud had sent him a copy of his general introduction to psychoanalysis. Bernays read it, and the picture of hidden irrational forces inside human beings fascinated him. He wondered whether he might make money by manipulating the unconscious.
What Eddie got from Freud was indeed this idea that there is a lot more going on in human decision-making, not only among individuals, but even more importantly among groups, than this idea that information drives behavior. And so Eddie began to formulate this idea that you had to look at things that would play to people's irrational emotions. And you see, that moved Eddie immediately into a different category from other people in his field and most government officials and managers of the day who thought if you just hit people with all this factual information, they would look at that and say, oh, of course. And Eddie knew that was not the way the world worked.
Bernays set out to experiment with the minds of the popular classes. His most dramatic experiment was to persuade women to smoke. At that time, there was a taboo against women smoking, and one of his early clients, George Hill, the president of the American Tobacco Corporation, asked Bernays to find a way of breaking it.
He said, we're losing half of our market because men have invoked a taboo against women smoking in public. Can you do anything about that? I said, let me think about it. And then I said, have I your permission to see a psychoanalyst to find out what cigarettes mean to women? He said, what'll it cost? So I called up Dr. Brill, A.A. Brill, who was a leading psychoanalyst in New York at that time.
How come you didn't call your uncle? Why didn't you call your uncle?
Because he was in Vienna.
A.A. Brill was one of the first psychoanalysts in America. And for a large fee, he told Bernays that cigarettes were a symbol of the penis and of male sexual power. He told Bernays that if he could find a way to connect cigarettes with the idea of challenging male power, then women would smoke, because then they would have their own penises. Every year, New York held an Easter Day parade to which thousands came, and Bernays decided to stage an event there. He persuaded a group of rich debutantes to hide cigarettes under their clothes. Then they should join the parade, and at a given signal from him, they were to light up the cigarettes dramatically. Bernays then informed the press that he had heard that a group of suffragettes were preparing to protest by lighting up what they called torches of freedom.
He knew this would be an outcry, and he knew that all of the photographers would be there to capture this moment. And so he was ready with a phrase, which was torches of freedom. And so here you have a symbol, women, young women, debutantes, smoking a cigarette in public with a phrase that means anybody who believes in this kind of equality pretty much has to support them in the ensuing debate about this, because torches of freedom. I mean, what's on all American coins? It's liberty. She's holding up the torch. You see, and so all of this is there together. There's emotion, there's memory, there's a rational phrase, even though it's using a lot of emotional elements. It's a phrase that works in a rational sense. All of this is together. And so the next day, this was not just in all of the New York papers, it was across the United States and around the world. And from that point forward, the sale of cigarettes to women began to rise. He had made them socially acceptable with a single symbolic act.
What Bernays had created was the idea that if a woman smoked, it made her more powerful and independent, an idea that still persists today.
What was it? I move a wall and the rat will change its course.
Yeah. Basically. Change one of those like funny houses.
Yeah.
Where there's an arrow pointing, go this way. You just turn the arrow around. Like, oh, you're fucked. You will follow that arrow.
Or so different than a trigger word. Like, watch this. I'll get him to react. Ethnic slur. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. See? I can control you.
Now, here's the thing about pro-choice. I, myself, am pro-choice, but not the way that these political talking heads are. And actually, it expands beyond talking heads.
Well, it's funny, right?
It's a lot of guys I listen to that call themselves progressives and Democrats that are also pro-choice, but they don't have the reasoning that I have. You could probably call me like a conservative progressive in those regards, because I'm sort of a mixture of both. I do deeply consider it a moral question, because I don't want to fucking step on ants. Why would I kill a fucking fetus?
Yeah.
At the same time, in order for it to stay as a moral choice, or in order for it to stay a moral question, there has to be choice. No choice, no morality. Thus, I need there to be choice involved here. That's sort of my stance with that.
Well, I'm literally.
Hey, Ruben.
Like literally pro-choice. There needs to be choice in order for there to be good. If you eliminate that, then it's synthetic good. It's no different than some sort of like evil billionaire donating millions or billions to some sort of orphanage or some sort of low income part of the like town that's fucking ridden with crime. And it's like, well, there was no good with there. So truly, even if someone benefits from it, it wasn't done out of goodness. So it's like without choice, then what is there?
Conditioning.
Yeah.
The law tells me to do this, I do this.
Well, I would say nothing.
Yeah.
It's nothing. Yeah.
So, yeah, that would be my stance there. And the question of whether or not abortion is immoral, I would say it depends on the individual, as in their intentions behind it. Right?
Yeah.
Do they truly believe they're taking a life away? That's one thing. And I see a lot of cognitive dissonance as people trying to fight to say they're not taking a life away. Let's be honest here, guys. I mean, that life, there's potentially a baby here, and you're stopping it. So you're stopping a life from happening.
Yeah.
Let's be clear about that. But if you're completely ignorant of that, you just think it's gobbledygook. It's weird cells or whatever just floating there. It's nothing, no person there or whatever. That comes to account when you turn into a moral question. I say that because I want to make a distinction between someone who had a one-night stand and got pregnant versus like the worst cases like rape or whatever. Or, the mom's in danger of dying with the baby.
Well, it's like you physically, like if you give birth, you'll die.
Yeah, that's why it's all about intentions, right? Because even you can have a mom who, it's either you have the baby and you die, or the baby dies and you live. Like one of those scenarios, like that's a tough fucking decision.
Yeah.
And they need the room for that fucking choice, because it adds something to a human. As shitty as that scenario is, those type of decisions add something to a person. Now,
I would say yes.
Yeah. Now, here is Jordan's solution to all of this, which no one will ever follow. Maybe like thousands of years from now.
What?
That's too pessimistic. Maybe 50 years from now, we might consider looking at this particular type of idea.
You'll be dead. Don't worry. Long before you. It's just like, who was this man?
Oh, by the way, we're not on any political team or anything. I'm not a pro-life or a pro-choice. I just look at it realistically, personally.
I'm just a stormtrooper. That's all I am. That's all I ever will be.
My solution for this. Okay, let's start with the basis of it. Is abortion a moral question? The action of abortion, is it a moral thing?
Well, it's going to lead you to the moral question.
I would say it is.
I would say it leads you.
It could lead, yeah.
Because what is abortion?
All right, let's put it this way. If I'm the mom in that scenario, it is a moral question for me.
Yeah.
Just abortion on its own.
I hear you.
Is a moral question. Okay. Now, what does morality require? It requires choice. As in, if I'm conditioned to say, just get rid of the baby, or if I'm conditioned to say, keep the baby, that is not a moral decision. That is a conditioned choice. Or if I'm afraid of the law and I keep the baby, or I'm just rebelling against the law and I get rid of the baby. Not a moral choice there. When we're talking about abortion, there's moral choices outside of that, but when we're talking about abortion strictly, there's the question of morality is not there because there's no choice there. So, okay. Moral question, you need choice. So, with those two scenarios, my solution would be, okay, it's your choice whether you have an abortion or not.
Yeah.
But before you have the abortion, you should have to have a testimony. A testimony, unless it's a crude case of like rape or incest or something brutal happening. It was just a normal scenario. You just got, knocked up from, seeking pleasure sex. Or you're in a relationship and you're like, I got a job. I can't do this. Sorry. That would require testimony. You have to explain how you got pregnant, or at least how you believe you got pregnant, which can be followed up by, investigations. And you have to explain why you want the abortion. Thus, instead of the work, which you're probably going to avoid, most people are probably going to avoid this work, which is asking, why am I doing this? How did this happen? On and so forth. Now we have a database for understanding why most people are getting abortions and all that. We also have, you're not going to jail if you get an abortion, but now it's like, you got drunk one night, decided to get laid, you got pregnant, you and the dad are both having testimonies, by the way, not just the mom. That'd be stupid. Both of them. There's just ideas I'm throwing out there. It should be voluntary, first of all, also as well. The testimony should be voluntary, but like I said, 1,000 years from now, maybe people will consider that. Where they voluntarily give testimony of how it happened and why they want to get rid of the baby.
We call the gospel of choice. Like it took, and it's going to say ... Yes, it took us that long.
Yeah. So now you have whether this particular abortion, this particular case, is in the realms of a moral question. You have it there right in front of you. I was with my boyfriend, I didn't want to wear a condom, and I got pregnant. Or I just didn't feel like taking the pill, I got lazy, I got pregnant. Whatever. I was with the fifth guy this week, I got pregnant. Whatever. It's like, now it's on paper for you.
Yeah.
Because most people will not look into that mirror. Maybe in 1,000 years, maybe. So there you go. You have choice and you have the moral repercussions. Nice and neatly wrapped in a basket for you.
Think of like you went to the deli. Nice and wrapped. Then when you get home, you can fuck it up. Yeah. Nice, neatly wrapped and folded.
All right, so that's my little solution. You got anything?
It's literally just, there must be choice.
Yeah.
There must be, you must give people room to make a choice.
Yes, but I also consider the abortion thing in the realms of a moral question.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Thus,
well, what I mean by choice specifically will always go back to that. Morality.
And how many people are going to confront the moral question of it?
Right now?
Right now.
Ballpark percentage, maybe like 0.5. Even though there's like I would say an innate feeling of, is this wrong? Is this wrong? Is this wrong? But in a way, it's like a shallow understanding of what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's evil. So that's why it's like truly, maybe like 0.5. You know what I'm saying?
So, I don't know. For a children's lesson, why not have the testimony part? It's like, you will not go to jail, period. You will not be seeing any time behind bars because you got an abortion. You should just have to explain why you're getting it. That makes sense to me.
Many people are ashamed of it.
Yeah.
So that's why there's like social ridicule.
And to be honest, I think that's a good thing. I mean, that means you're alive when you're making these decisions.
Yeah.
And those are very important. I'm not saying, yes, shame on you, shame, that's good. Shame on you, you asshole.
Shame. Shame.
I don't mean some morbid pleasure of you feeling shame. I mean, you experiencing life to where every moment should have some sort of importance like that. To where you're not zombieing through. Please don't forget to donate to Devon's Journey to Recovery. The link is down there in the description box.
Say you wanna get in.